coming at you live from Las Vegas at Black Hat 2019. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. However, Gabe Gumbs from Spirion will be here. We're going to talk about something. Then we're going to do a segment and actually talk about software security do's and don'ts, which will be interesting. Josh Douglas from Mimecast will be joining us for our final segment. And, I mean, stay tuned because you never know what happens when we broadcast live from a security conference. So.
This is Security Weekly. For security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. Is your IT team ready to face the next implementation or upgrade? Do you have a pool of talented team members who are trained and ready to support your organization's growth? The right IT skills development platform can get you past the IT skills gap. With training content that's so engaging, some even call it binge-worthy learning, your team will watch and learn more with IT Pro TV. Get a free team trial of IT Pro TV today. Visit securityweekly.com/IT Pro TV. Are you an enterprise dissatisfied with overpriced analytics software that can't keep up with modern data? If so, then GravWell is the solution for you. GravWell is an unstructured data analytics platform for enterprises who demand total data visibility across their network. GravWell lets your security team go beyond the SIM and fuse data sources to correlate and answer questions you didn't know needed to be asked. Go to gravwell.io/securityweekly for an unlimited data trial and gain uncompromising visibility today. Effectively securing your organization and its reputation requires a smarter approach. To maximize efficiency and minimize risk, security experts turn to LogRhythm, the only leading solution built solely for security teams by a security team committed to your success. With next-gen SIM, user and entity behavior analytics, network traffic and behavior analysis, security automation and orchestration, and compliance, LogRhythm provides security made smarter.
But welcome to the show anyways, and first let me introduce you to our wonderful host, the man who is PIIMP today, Mr. Paul Sidorian. That would be pimp.
That's what the second eye is for.
Pimp. Hey, you know, when in Vegas, I think you got to look the part, and I did my best to look the part. I do have to say some of our interviews, I think, were like, who's interviewing me? I'm like, oh, that's me. I think I don't know what they thought.
Say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, he does have that vibe going right now.
I mean, I've been scar-facing the whole time we were here. Yeah,
I got my Vegas glasses and all that kind of stuff going on. But it's good to be here. We're at Black Hat. We did a series of interviews today, and this is Paul's Security Weekly live from a conference which we haven't done in many, many moons. Larry and I were trying to remember, and then we started sharing stories, and then we had to stop because we're going to record the show.
Yeah, we now have to relive all those stories on the show.
Well, maybe that could be this segment. But Larry, it's good to have you here.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last time I don't remember the last time we were at a conference together actually recording a show.
I can't either.
What's interesting is that's how this show began, at a conference. You and I and a bunch of other folks recording a show. That was episode 1.
Yep, that was episode 1.
Los Angeles.
Because we were supposed to be in New Orleans.
Right.
But Katrina happened, and they had to relocate the SANS conference last minute, like within a month period. We ended up in Business District in L.A. in
the restaurant that was spinning.
Yep, and the Schwarzenegger.
Not from drinking too much.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That was
That wasn't just a McDonald's somewhere.
Right.
It's
a restaurant.
It was the hotel from.
Oh, not Total Recall. No, the other. True Lies.
True Lies.
True Lies.
With the little pods with the rotating restaurant, and we did it in the bar.
Core Security bought the beers. And they did an interview today with us.
Nice.
Ironically enough.
And we forgot to press record.
I was one of their earliest customers.
Episode 1, we tend to forget to push record.
Yep. So we
like a lot of different shows. Episode 1, Stogie Geeks, forgot to push record. Episode 1, ASW, forgot to push record.
Yeah, we got about 20 minutes in and realized we weren't recording. Had to go back and start over again.
That's always fun.
No.
And then we went to the rotating bar because we were in the lobby that wasn't rotating, and we went to the rotating bar and ran into Sunshine.
Oh yeah.
And from SourceFire, and hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, we just recorded our first podcast. Oh yeah, my boss, he loves podcasts. You want him to get him on the show?
That's exactly how it happened.
Episode number 2 with Marty Resch.
That was the beginnings.
Yep.
Dr. Doug White is here with us as well.
The doctor's in
Hello.
Doctor is in the house.
I made it. I got here. I'm in Las Vegas, so I got to the security conference. I was not. I've had a bad run of luck.
Did you
with
complete your TCP through a handshake? Because it looks like you're still working on that from your teacher.
Sometimes a handshake is just a handshake, Paul.
Oh, I gotcha. Gabriel Gumbs is here with us. Gabe, welcome. You're back here. You've done so many episodes now. You're like a veteran.
I feel like I'm part of the family. I really appreciate that.
But they have a cream for that.
They do that?
Yeah.
I mean,
It
Especially
never goes
with this
away.
family,
but
it's a very specific cream.
Yeah, I'm more of an ointment kind of guy than a cream. But yeah.
Black salve.
That's what they called me in high school.
Really?
Wow.
Well,
How do I follow that?
Yeah.
I think we follow that with some announcements.
There we go.
Exciting news about our webcast program. We're partnering with ISC Squared. If you watch any of our webcasts or go to our on-demand and watch a webcast, you receive 1 credit per webcast. So I kind of recommend that you just go in and watch every single webcast that you can in our archives, and you'd get like roughly 20 or so, I think, maybe,
Does that make me like a
more.
Like a
level
master's
30
degree or
yeah, was it
something.
like a level 30 security wizard? Like,
All you do is go watch them, right? And pay attention. Like, don't just pretend to watch
There's a
them.
test.
Sure.
There'll be a test at the end to
Yes.
get your credit.
The answer is 42.
So go do that. securityweekly.com/webcasts. If you're trying to make a big splash this year, you should have bought a sponsored interview already because now we're here recording them. So, but for future conferences, we will be doing this. So you can always go to securityweekly.com/booking. Is booking singular, right? Yes, booking. And you can request briefings. You can request conference interviews. And when you do that, obviously Black Hat's passed, but we'll be doing those at Hacker Halted, RSA next year. A lot of the major shows will be doing these, hopefully, shows and also recorded interviews, which is a lot of fun. Now, this time, Matt and I both are stacked for 2 days with like 8 interviews per day.
Wow.
28 interviews or something like that, which is awesome. It's a lot of fun. It's good to see it all come together. The team did a great job getting all the gear out. To be able to record this show remotely is a huge feat. We've been working actually since RSA this year to be able to come to Black Hat to have this whole setup that we have. So.
Next time we need to get Mark and Johnny some chairs so they don't have to.
They have
There
a
are,
chair.
small logistics. We take notes and do it for the next time. But to have pulled this off is really awesome. I'm really excited. All right, now anything else I need to do before we get on with shenanigans? Qualys. I need to read something about Qualys, right? Because Qualys is a sponsor now. Qualys is introducing a new prescription for security, and it's free. Global IT asset discovery and inventory. You can activate it today at securityweekly.com/Qualys so you can achieve 100% near real-time visibility across your hybrid environment. So please welcome our new sponsor, Qualys. I think that completes the cycle of vulnerability management major vendors. We've had Tenable, Rapid7, and now Qualys. Since I've been at Tenable, I think they've all gone off and done slightly different, maybe even drastically different things. I think they're all doing really well. Gabe's shaking his head. You're like a third-party, non-biased.
I was an extremely early customer of Qualys many moons ago back in my architect life. So, nothing but good things to say about them personally. Yeah.
Oh, there's one more that we haven't had though.
Who's
Saint?
And they are still doing software.
Yep.
I would assume.
As far as I know,
I haven't looked
still
at them.
doing software. Yeah.
as far as I know.
But I haven't seen them in quite some time. But
I assume there's code.
I assume there's
Some
software
code
that they
somewhere out
make somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I remember they were a player back in the day, and they probably do better with the others.
We're probably missing a lot of others in that.
I'm willing to
discussion.
bet there is, though, right? Yeah.
And I will say you did a great job reading that announcement, Paul, because I can see it over your shoulder. And the prescription for security, and it's FR.
And then new line
EE. I'm like, what the hell is an FREE? This is a new term in the industry that I'm not aware of here. Oh, it's free. Got it.
Free. Thankfully,
That actually
my
is a
brain
new term in the industry.
Yeah.
So, Gabe, you work in the industry. Well,
I do.
What is Spirion? Remind our listeners what Spirion does.
We are
what
a
you do
data
there.
security company. So I'm the chief innovation officer there.
Oh,
which
wait,
is,
I thought you were product manager.
So I was.
Oh,
I was.
do tell.
So I ran the product management team for a while, and they decided that no good deed goes unpunished. So they decided to make me the chief innovation officer, which
Was that a promotion or just a title change?
Well, I mean, more work, same pay. I'll let you decide.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a
So title
promotion.
change. So
Work
title
smarter,
change.
not harder. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're a data security company, and kind of my role there is to figure out, understand where problems are in the industry, what customers are actually looking to achieve and solve for, and kind of the things that plague them from a data security perspective, especially with like compliance kind of grinding.
So more of a
everyone's-
strategy role than product management.
So it's a bit of both. So I mean, I take a very high level strategic view on the whole thing, and then the actual PM team executes those things on my behalf, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
And between them and the data science team and so on and so forth, all of those things kind of flow down from the top, if you want to consider all this the top. So. Yeah, but we've been in data security now for like 13 years, right? So we focus on a lot of discovery and classification and protection.
And you've worked in that space for some time now.
I have actually. This is my boomerang trip back to Spirion. So
Right.
I was there.
Oh,
once
yeah,
before.
okay. Yeah.
I spent a few years there. I went on a little rumspringer to another data security organization.
Wow.
Had some fun. Had my rumspringer fun, and then I came back. So. Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's been a fun ride. So.
How many times have you been to conferences like this at Black Hat?
Man, I don't know the number to that. I mean, you have to remember, I've been going to date myself a little bit, but I've been coming to DEF CON since before Black Hat was a thing. So
I was going to ask you how you. I don't
it's
know if
been a
we've ever
while.
had this conversation. How you got your start in information security?
So, like many of us then, I started on the IT side of the world. So I was a routing and switching guy back then. And
Like, wait, we talking 90s?
we're talking late 90s, early 2000s, like
Okay.
99, 2000, 2001.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So you
yeah.
might-
IPX, SPX kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure. Like
Token Ring? Did you remember Token
yes,
Ring?
I was. In fact,
Milking machines.
Yeah. In fact, I literally swapped out some of the old Bay equipment and the old balance and stuff, and we were just running Ethernet at the time too. So I'm and all of this is just I moisturize a lot, so it doesn't really look like
Yeah, I was going to say, but I'm dead serious. I thought you were a lot. And when you talk about your experience, I'm like, now you're the same age as me, dude. And you see the gray going on over here.
It's a whole lot of
You've done well.
Yeah,
You've done well,
yeah,
my
yeah.
friend.
Paul, apparently you need to moisturize.
I do need a moisturizer.
You need to give me the name of your moisturizer.
Yes.
It's Dr. Larry's face cream.
Dr. Larry's face cream, exactly.
What's her name?
Sarah V. Sarah V's her name. So I started doing that, and I'd been doing a bunch of security stuff on the side
You were
for
in
years.
New Jersey, New York?
I was in New York.
Okay.
And New York had a very rich InfoSec community, like still does to this day.
Oh, yeah.
We used to have all of the old, between the NY Lug meetups and the security meetups in the old city building, and then the original
And
loft
20
crew.
2600 meetings?
Yeah,
And
those were all in the same building.
Angelina
That's
Jolie
right. Yeah.
showed up on rollerblades.
She did that one time.
That one time.
That one time. There was that one time. Yeah,
She
yeah.
did go, just not on rollerblades, right?
Nah, probably.
Or is there? I don't.
probably just in the room.
Not on roller.
I don't
All
know.
right.
I missed that meeting.
We'll leave.
That was the one day I decided.
Yeah, that was
to
the
miss
one.
That
That was the
meeting.
one first
It
of
was
the
the
month.
one meeting I missed. So I was doing a lot of that stuff just kind of on the side anyway, and a position came open at the company I was working for at the time, and I was like, man, I'd really like to try my hand at this thing. I've been banging away at things kind of in the shadows, so to speak, and that's basically how I got my start. So.
Cool.
Good, or bad, or indifferent, here I am now.
It's
So
a good way to get a start.
Now
it's
what?
not awful.
You went to the early DEF CONs.
I did.
What? How did you find out about them, and how did that happen?
From the 2600 Club, there were some folks in the group there that would go. Tan came down a couple of times. One of the old, not one of the original members, but one of the members of the Loft.
Loft, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And he turned me on to some of that stuff, and I was like, oh, this sounds dope. I
Wow,
wanna
so
go.
you go back like way in hacker.
Back a little
Look
ways,
at you,
little
like all
ways.
dressed up in a suit
I
jacket.
mean-
But you go way back into hacker
I
history,
mean,
dude.
there might be photos that I'm not willing to admit exist still, and I don't own the negatives. So,
Damn it. Which at the time actually included negatives.
Right, there were actual negatives there.
Right.
So, yeah.
So wait, we're talking like Alexis Park kind of deal.
No, which Alexis Bar?
Alexis Park was the hotel over there.
Right. Yeah. That's where they'd have them on Saturdays as well too. Yeah.
That's where when I first started going to DEF CON, that's
Alexis
where
Park.
that was where it was over there, and the first couple I went to were there, and or maybe just one. I think it moved. No, it was there a couple
For a
times.
second, I thought you were still talking about New York. I'm like, there's
No, this was in
yeah,
Vegas.
Oh, in
It
Vegas.
was way
Really-
off strip because there was
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably the
it's
cheapest place you could.
Oh yeah, it was just a total dive.
Oh my God, was it ever though?
No,
Might
it
have
was
almost gotten stacked.
because the first time I ever went to DEF CON, it was there, and I was talking to the owner of the hotel. He was like down there. It was like 3:00 in the morning, and the place was just trashed.
Yeah.
And I said, "Why do you let them do this?" And he was like, "Because the only people that have ever out-drunk DEF CON was the Royal Air Force."
Seems
And he
about right.
said, "I make so much money off this one thing. I don't care if they burn the place to the ground." He was like, "I can build it back before next year. We'll be good."
Well, that's like with DerbyCon
Yeah.
too. When you go to DerbyCon, we
Yeah.
outdrank the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah. Well, so yeah,
That's
what,
something to be proud of.
In what 4
with
days?
very few incidents, I might add.
and 4
Yeah,
days of
well, that's the
4
thing
days
to
of
be proud of,
DerbyCon,
right?
we outdrank 2 weeks of Kentucky Derby crowd.
Wow.
And in fact, the second year we were at DerbyCon, the bartenders complained that the hotel hadn't ordered enough alcohol based on years prior and wanted them to order 4 times what they had already ordered because they were going to run out. And the hotel management said, "Nah, it'll be fine.
Sure enough.
We drank them out of everything, everything." Beer, wine, and liquor. Everything was gone.
Started
in
hitting the bar-
Kentucky,
Right,
That's
started-
where they make bourbon.
Yeah. So
hitting the
the
bottles and
the
James
next
after
year,
that.
management was like, "All right, fine, we'll order like 40 kegs.
Drank
I
it.
dare him to drink us out of it."
Oh, that's all we need to hear.
We did.
You guys had a good time.
Every drop. Last
That's
year,
awesome.
the last year, which was the last year at that hotel, the last year at that hotel, they finally didn't run out of any alcohol. And then they didn't go back to that hotel. but they brought the bartenders to the con and gave them lifetime admittance to the con, which they're shutting down this year.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, they
So-
are. I know.
but
I'm
still-
a little bummed about that, but
still.
it's all good.
But still,
I
they
wanna
brought
go,
the bartenders.
hold on, I want to go back to New York in the early
Yes.
days of 2600. What was that like?
At the time, like a lot of those things, you don't really know that you're in the middle of it as it's happening,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
to
yeah.
look back on it, it's like, oh my God, that's incredible. You know, at the time, it was just kind of what you did. Like you just
You were interested in security, so
yeah,
you went to
yeah,
20
and you attended those things, and it was a great place to like meet. Plus, like I was kind of a typical nerd a little bit, like in high school and stuff. So like there weren't like a whole lot of other people I like hung out with, or probably even like I wouldn't say like understood me, if you would. Then, right?
I
And I'm
get it,
certainly
I get it.
far more outgoing now than I ever was then. Like now, I'll get up and talk to anybody anytime. I don't give a fuck. Like I totally will. But like then, that wasn't a thing. So I just show up very quietly and kind of observe and do my thing. And yeah, I did that for a while. And you start meeting more people and getting out. And
that was pre-internet days too, so it was coming out of the old bulletin board communities and things
Yeah.
like that.
was
Which
a lot of that.
all of which
Yeah.
came out of the whole idea of. I mean, people did that for everything, whether it was soldering,
Right.
or electronics,
Yeah,
or
when
programming.
you could still buy an actual soldering kit at Radio Shack.
yeah,
Like,
but I mean, people had groups like that because
You could find one.
There was no other way to get information from people because
Right.
you
Yeah.
didn't have,
You
you,
didn't.
know, like I can just go on Google and type, how do I write this code? You went down to some local programmer
Right.
clash. That's what I used
That
to do
was
when
it.
I was like in high school.
Yeah.
You went and hung out
So
with
you had
these-
to actually interact with people
yeah.
to get
You wanted-
information.
You wanted help installing Linux at the time. Like you had to physically
Yes.
go down to this place where all of these other people congregated and get help.
and
Or it
somebody
was-
had it.
and someone had
somebody
it.
had you know, yeah, I got BSD
Right,
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 here.
right.
Yeah, and I could get it to you on these 5 1/4 inch
Yeah,
floppy
yeah,
disks.
no, for
But
sure.
I think that's an important point. It was more about mentorship. When I think of the
Yeah.
people who taught me, they were the folks, my friend Todd, who went to school in the UK, came over. He was a programmer that I worked with when I was in college. And he was like, I was like, dude, I want to learn this Linux thing. He's
Yeah.
like, we learned it in college. I'm like, dude, they don't even know how to
Teach me.
spell Linux in college. I'm
Right.
like, when we
They
go
don't,
to
they
here,
don't know how to spell BSD
I'm like,
in college here.
please teach me. He's like, yeah, dude, come over and we'll totally nerd out. And like loading Linux on floppies and having his knowledge to be transferred because I couldn't go Google search like I'm getting this error when there was no
Yep.
friggin' Google back then.
No.
If I got that error, I was like, Todd, what does this error mean? He's like, I don't know, let's figure it out together, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we've lost sight of that. We need to bring that back or
There
make
does
sure
need
it
to be more
stays,
mention.
right?
I mean, I try best I can to pay that forward, right? Like, you know, people hit me up online all the time, and you know, I just make myself available. Like, if I can answer a question, I'll answer a question. It takes Takes me very little time to do that. If I can be of help in that way, because I definitely stood on a lot of shoulders to get it. There's no two ways about it.
yeah.
A lot of shoulders.
We all have.
A lot of
And
shoulders.
they had curmudgeons then too. So
Oh, my
there was
God.
always old Ray over there in the corner, and nobody ever talked to him. But it's like,
read the
how do I
manual
write
is a
this
joke
like
now, but it was
double
religion
It was-
to people back then.
Has that changed? Because I feel like the way that I learned, there were my mentors who were older, more experienced, curmudgeon-y, and I would go to them with a problem, and they would just look at me and be like, "How long did you spend on this?" I'm like, "You're like 5 minutes." They're like, you didn't spend
Spend
long
enough,
enough
right.
struggling with it. Go
Right.
back after you spent 20. Don't spend more than 20, 30 minutes, because then you're in trouble. Like
Right.
there's a magic time. Then come back and show me what you tried, and you would have to basically earn their mentorship and their help.
Right.
Yep.
Now I feel like it's too easy. You can go to Stack Overflow and
No,
I mean,
the very
get
first-
kind of bad advice
Right,
sometimes.
that's the-
right.
that's the
thing.
trade-off.
That's the
when I was
trade-off.
about 15, I finally got up my nerve to go to this guy. His name was Ray, and he was everybody was afraid of him. And I finally got up my nerve to ask him because I had heard this term recursion,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what it meant. And I finally got up my nerve, and I went over there, and I went, "Hi, Ray. Could you tell me what a recursion is?" And he did that Jack Daniels thing where he went.
They all did. They all did that.
He's like, "All right, just when you write a function and have it call itself, go play with that for a while and bring me some code and I'll look at it."
Yep,
and
yep.
that was just, and then
And you did though, because
Yeah.
No, and then you were
That's how you
scared.
learn.
I was scared not to. I was like, "Oh shit!
Yeah,
now
now
I
you
gotta
had
write some
to.
code. Oh my god!" And then you worked on it a lot, and you took it back, and then he went, "All right,
Let's go
yeah,
through
well,
this."
this is not the
Suffering
right
side.
way." Yeah, and then but you did. You sort of beat your way through that, and I think you had to try to impress those guys, and it wasn't just some nameless face on the internet.
it was interesting how you found people who would teach you because there was no internet to go
Yeah.
find the answer. You really had. One of my mentors in programming was a Catholic priest. So happened he worked for a government contractor and like wrote code that helped like launch missiles and stuff. And so I would
That makes sense for a priest. Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, totally.
right?
Totally.
I was equally as shocked as you are,
Right.
Gabe. But when I found out that one of the priests I was friends with was like, "Yeah, dude, like I know how to write software." I'm like, "Can I show you my software? And like, can you give me tips and pointers?" He taught me so much. Because he was like, I don't know. Then he turned into like instant, like no more
There are
Catholic
so many
priests.
jokes
Yeah,
I'm not
I
making
know,
right
I know.
now.
I was just about to
I'm
say.
just like, God, Charles, you can't. Softball. It's tips and pointers, and he's like showing me his software, and I'm showing him my software, and then he took my code and showed me how to recurse it into. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna stop.
Just a tip. Just a tip.
Just a tip, boy.
Are you done now? Did you get that out of your system?
I know. It was like, I just got to do this. Okay, I was like, it's just like softball. Like, okay, I won't swing. No,
It's an
okay,
interesting
I'm done.
coincidence. The first bit of code I ever learned was actually from a Jesuit priest also, but that's
Oh, yeah.
because he was my teacher. But yeah,
Right, right.
yeah.
I did.
But we found mentors, whoever we knew that knew how to write code
Yeah.
or hack into
Yeah.
stuff, right? We were like, please teach me whatever you knew. But it was I feel a different dynamic than there is today. There was very much of, you had to earn the right for them to transfer your knowledge
Right.
to them. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think first and foremost, they didn't want to see their students essentially do bad things with it. I talk about that in my Kung Fu
I don't
talk.
know about that.
Because I think martial
some of
arts
the-
teachers don't want
Yeah.
to teach certain
But-
things to certain students because they're going to use it poorly. I think with hacking especially, why would I teach someone how to exploit something if they're going to just go do damage
Yeah.
and cause people harm
Yeah.
just because they think it's fun, right?
So I'll tell
Am I
you
going
some
to
of
transfer
the
my knowledge
early
to that
what I will
person?
call gray hat stuff that I learned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
like there was
now back
definitely-
in early, like late
Yeah.
90s, early
Yeah.
2000s.
Yeah, that
Let's
was-
just set the stage before Gabe tells his story. There's like not a lot of whole laws on the books
Yeah,
or
there-
people
yeah.
prosecuting people. Like it was
But
pretty much
morality
the
still
Wild West.
existed.
Yes, but morality still existed. I
Now,
agree.
now, I would argue that there were laws on the books with some of the telecom stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
But
I
they
agree.
didn't know how to
Yes.
apply it to the computer stuff.
Right.
And it was largely just, hey, don't do that. Yeah, they got caught and like, hey, don't do that again. So there
And
was
Or
a
you got
lot
hi-
of
or
the
you got
first-
hired
The
for
first,
that.
the first bill passed like under Bill Clinton, didn't it? It was like or maybe it was even
Well,
before.
no, CFAA was
CFA.
CFAA was
2003.
earlier than that. I thought.
Was it earlier than that even?
Yeah.
So I mean, there were some laws in the
96.
books, right?
In 1996, they revised the Telco Act from 1933.
Right.
To incorporate, but they added some very vague language
didn't know what
about
they
the
were doing.
misuse of computers
Yeah.
and things like that. But
Right.
I mean, honestly,
1984.
84.
CFAA
Okay, well, there
is
was one. That was
Isn't that a nice coincidence?
cybersecurity bill enacted in 1984, right?
so during the Reagan years.
Yeah, there you go.
But
so
they
but they didn't. I feel they didn't prosecute it because
Yeah,
like
well,
Larry and Doug
nobody
said, like they didn't
understood.
know how, right?
Nobody
So anyway, go
understood
back.
it.
So
Yeah.
Gabe, you had a story.
I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into the story, even if statutes
Statutes
may
of
have,
limitations.
Let me make a few notes here.
Right. But certainly it's already being recorded. Right? But
Gabe's
certainly-
got a good job now. So
Right.
No, they'll stop the cameras, Gabe. Go ahead. Just tell us the truth.
Is Mike hot?
Yeah, this is this is all just off the
you,
off the
dude,
record.
you knocked off your
Did
mic
I?
condom thing.
My
fell.
Mike condom.
You find your mic condom.
So,
Where'd it
yeah,
go?
Oh, God.
Oh boy.
He lost his pop
Mike
filter.
condoms are gone.
All right.
Yeah, you'd think we could find condoms here in Vegas.
It'll be what it'll be.
Okay.
All right.
You
was
can't use
actually
any,
from- it
any
was-
no P's or S's now because
Yeah.
your pop filter's
That's not
off.
what
I'm
it
just kidding.
A physics teacher taught me some very interesting hardware hacks at the time, and you may recall Motorola's original StarTACs being quite vulnerable to cloning.
Yes.
And I learned some very interesting things from that gentleman, and then some. He originally introduced me to the original Wear scene. So I hadn't realized that was right there in plain sight, even though I'd been online in parts of those worlds. It was like, oh my God, what is all of this?
Yeah, it's it's
So-
funny. When I was in college, I was majoring in computers, right? And so it was a requirement that I had to take the basics of Microsoft Word and Office.
Yeah.
So mostly I was asleep.
Bold,
whole thing.
not bold. Bold,
Yeah.
not bold. I'll
Pretty
repeat
much.
it. Bold, not bold.
But
Okay.
one thing I remember from that class, only thing I remember from that class was one day he was teaching us about the World Wide Web or something. He's like, hey, when you go to a website and it has this CGI-bin, if you put some weird characters after it, you can
Right.
get some interesting things.
Right.
I think that was the point where I was like, I really think I want to do computer security because
Yeah.
that is the coolest. And so
It is-
I would go
it
home
is one of
and I
those-
would try all the
To
different.
use an analogy, it really was one of those red pill, blue pill moments, though, right?
Yeah.
The second I learned that one nugget,
Right.
my world and literally my life changed. It was there was no going back after that. There was just no.
But
going
I
back.
can make things do things they're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
But
Right?
there's an
Yeah.
interesting thing about morality and ethics here too, though. Since you said red pill and blue pill, I bet you all of us had that moment where you said, "I could do something
Yes.
really fucking bad
Yes.
right now." I mean, I logged into a bank via a dial-up modem. I mean, it's statute of limitations, folks, and I didn't do anything. But I mean, I think that was the difference between some people. Was I logged in? I said, "Well, I'm literally inside this
Right.
system, and what should I do now?" And then that's sort of where. And I mean, there was I don't know what the law said, and nobody was going to know who did it, and it was
I think equally too, though, a lot of that for us was just largely innocent experimentation, right? We were just curious versus today where now folks understand the harm that can be caused. And so there's a lot more people that intentionally
We
want to
didn't get that
use
on
it
camera.
to that end, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I could be just thinking.
No, I
way
think
too
you're.
much
I
into
think
that,
that's
but,
spot
yeah.
on. I mean, I think that's exactly the way I was. I was like, this is. I mean, I don't think I. I think I realized that if I did something else,
Yeah.
that it was going to be bad. That now I've crossed a line.
There was
I do-
always
but I do wanna
kind of
say-
an unwritten code of conduct as
Yes.
well, right, in the scene too, right?
But
the
people weren't being
scenes.
prosecuted like they are today.
No, in
What
fact,
I
they were getting
caution-
hired, unfortunately.
Yes,
Well, maybe
yes,
personally, but
I
yeah,
agree.
they were getting hired.
Today,
yeah.
I always caution people: make sure you have permission.
Yeah.
Do not
Here's the thing.
violate
Today,
the law.
you don't need to go putzing around with other people's
You can
environments.
build your
'cause
own.
You
You
can
build your own
like-
and do whatever you want.
Right. Then,
And-
in order
and-
for me to have
And bug bounty programs, you can go putz around with everybody
There
else's
you go.
stuff
And you
with
have
permission.
permission.
They're
There you
saying,
go.
hack me. Go ahead. I
Right.
will
Yeah.
pay you to do it.
Yeah.
I think it was Chris Nickerson. This is talking about labs. He was like, "I got a lab. It's called China."
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing that in a shirt at DerbyCon, and I think it was Chris Gates that may have been wearing it, or Rob Fuller that was wearing
Yeah.
the shirt, and he says, "Let me go run that in my lab." And he turns around, and the lab is a picture of China, and it says it's the outline of China, and it says lab. I'm like, God.
But I was really just wanting access to equipment. I was wanting access to compilers and cool software. And I literally logged in the bank without knowing it was a bank. I was war dialing. I was just dialing all these numbers in Exchange, and boom, got a modem, and was like, what is this? And guess what? The thing was just an R login straight up, and I was like, I'm in.
It's interesting. Back then, we had to go find the software. Like you said in your Linux meetups, it was like who had gone through the painful process of downloading the entire distribution of whatever it was and copying it to floppy disks, and there was like 10 or whatever, more floppy disks that you had to load individually, right? The same thing with I just want this software because I want to see how it works. Fast forward to today, largely we can get a hold of most of the software, right? Even those like weird proprietary devices and software, if you work a little harder, you can find those too.
Yeah, sure.
It's called eBay.
And there's that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
No, it is, absolutely. You can go get almost any piece of hardware that you ever heard of, even old stuff. You can go find it on eBay. Somebody's got it. It probably still works.
Voting machines.
Yeah.
Like,
Get a voting machine and bring it home. You
Yeah.
can play with it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Write your own talk and come present it at a security conference, and you'll get lots of media coverage. Make yourself famous. Like, I can hack this voting machine in 3 seconds flat. Watch this.
Or you'll
So,
get faded.
Gabe, you were working in a
Yeah, there is that.
There's
that outcome.
in early 2000s. Were you working in a security role in a company in New York?
In New York, yeah, when I switched over from the networking side, yes. I was like a junior security analyst.
Which was
working in a security
rare
role
at that
in
time.
New York. It was extremely rare. The program itself was
it
in its
had a
nascency.
formal position.
It had a formal position.
Right.
There was
Wow.
about 3 of us.
That is rare.
And a lot of my like what I did early on was literally just pouring through firewall logs. It was really boring nonsense.
We all did at that time, Gabe.
Yeah,
I think we've all done our share point.
Oh,
That's
my
what you
God.
did,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
That was your source of data.
EPO version 1.0.
Oh, good God.
Oh,
Yes.
ooh.
I would wish that harm on no man.
Well, one EPO,
Right.
one dot.
Oh. But I remember even then looking and going, this has promise. I just didn't think it'd take 20 years to get.
Yeah. No, that's accurate. That's accurate.
Yeah, no. That was it was a formal security role it was a large organization. I mean, I'm sure anyone who wants to troll my LinkedIn can figure it out. And then I parlayed that into a bunch of friends of mine when like .com era got all hot. Like we went and started doing this, especially in New York, for a bunch of small companies all throughout the tri-state area. And so, we were installing hardware and
So wait, you went to a startup?
started a consulting startup.
You did, okay.
Yeah. It was about myself and two of my buddies.
And doing like installing firewalls. That's what
all
you did
of that.
back then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right?
basically. Yeah.
For startups.
For startups.
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Because
that's where all the money was.
Because many of them were, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, .com bubble burst, and we were all sitting around just kind of twiddling our thumbs. That's when I really learned to play chess, by the way. That's a different story. I was like, well, I got nothing else to do. I will learn how to play this game properly. And, got up to a 1900 rating. And I was like, I should probably get a job again.
Wow.
feels like-
I love this story.
1900
This is the greatest career story
Feels
ever.
like a
Gabe.
really good time to go back to.
1900 is pretty impressive.
It
It wasn't
is.
awful. Yeah, I wasn't humble bragging, or maybe I was, but it's not what it used to be. It's not what it used to be. Yeah.
So then where did you go after that?
Let's see. So after that, I went to a large consulting company and took on a bunch of major clients in the city. I'm not going to name any more names either.
That's
So
fine.
a bunch of
Yeah,
the
you don't
big
have to.
financial services organizations and maybe a farmer or two, and did a lot of architect work. Right. So this was again early in a lot of kind of the technologies that were coming out. IDSs were just on their way out, and IPSs were on their way in, and putting in that type of technology in place. And so did that for a while, and I'm just going to yada over a lot of the rest there, and then got a phone call from Grossman actually, at White Hat, right, and I was like, we could really use a guy like you. I was doing some AppSec work at the time, in fact with Troy Hunt. Troy Hunt and I worked together for a while. He'd build it and I'd break it. He'd build it and I'd break it. We worked for the same company doing that for years, and then got that call from Grossman and was like, yeah, why not? I can.
So you went over to White Hat.
I did, and that's when I realized I was like, yeah. I mean, all of those architect skills became kind of easily transferable, if you would, into building. Into basically what you may consider some type of product management at that point, right? Like so, things like that. So.
And then you made the move to Tampa? That was later?
That
or?
was recently, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's in the last year or so. I mean, I moved down to Florida. I left New York. I was in New York for 25 years, and I left there and I went down to Florida because no state taxes, and the beach. So
Right? Yeah.
So there's that. And and then Spirion relocated headquarters. Used to be in New York, relocated over to St. Pete. And so, they called me up and they were like, would you like to relocate to downtown St. Pete? And I'm like, there's a lot worse places to go to. And I was like, I will take you up on that offer. So,
Gabe, given your story and how you got into information security, what advice do you have for those today trying to break into the field? Because it's so different today, but yet
I'm going to start with where
right?
we did a minute ago, right? Which is you really should seek out some mentorship.
Yeah.
Trying to do this on your own, very doable, extremely doable. But you really should seek out people that are willing to take the time to invest in you, and they exist. They're all out there. There's no two ways about it. Like I said, like if I can't help someone personally, I'll turn them on to someone who can. But that's probably the best advice I can give someone is don't go it alone. Like don't go it alone.
And that,
But
and
what
that's-
advice
that-
do you have
just
for
missed my
what?
comment. Like wow,
so
that was just. A
I
room
feel
full of
very
nerds and no one got my Zelda comment.
Right.
Thank you.
So, but as a student that's looking for a mentor,
Yeah.
specifically, what kind of characteristics do you want to display? Because certainly all of us have probably taken on a varying number of different students or people that we've mentored. And, I mean, it kind of runs the gamut. And I think there's a certain profile of people that we're willing to put more time and effort into because of their characteristics, and others that were like, yeah, maybe you're not ready for this field at this point in your life.
So the question is, like, what characteristics would you seek out in a mentor?
No, in the student. Like, what you as a student, how should you present yourself? What kinds of things that
eager
you should
and
be
willing,
about?
really. I
Right?
mean, I think
You have
that's
to show passion.
show me some right. Yeah, like one of the reasons why I believe I am as good as I am at what I do is like it's an obsession, and not everyone can have that obsession. To be fair, like this isn't this comes a little easier than most because like I just obsess about it. Like, but if you don't have an obsession, that's okay too. Like, marry your passions if you would, and figure out if this is actually the thing you want to do, and if it is, then double down on that thing. So.
And I think sort of to that aim, very much the same thing we were talking about. With,
You've had a lot of students and interns.
with the curmudgeon Ray, like before you go ask for that.
Right.
Someone to help you.
Right.
Go do your homework. Go spend some time on it. Try to figure it out on your own. But
Yeah. Don't
Realize-
don't send me a tweet or in DM me and be like, teach me how to hack. Yeah, like that's just getting shit.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's
can you teach me how to hack Facebook?
I call it. My
Doug,
two-
you're a professor.
Yeah.
So you can,
my two things are one, be interested.
Right.
I mean, if you come, and I get this all the time. I get parents call me and they say, I want my child to go into this field because you get paid well. And, when I meet the child, the first thing I say to them is like, well, so why are you interested in this? And when they go, oh, I don't know, I don't really care anything about it, and you're just like, oh, why would you do this? This is hard.
Because my parents pushed me.
Yeah, and then those people don't succeed.
No.
I mean, they don't have any interest. And the other one is save your ammunition. Like, don't go asking questions. I probably shouldn't say ammunition, but don't go asking every little question. You get those students and they come in and they go, well, what do I do now? Well, what do I do now?
Yes.
What do I do now?
Yes. Right.
And I type that. What happens next? Right. And I'm like, well, try some stuff. And when it breaks, and when it breaks the first time, try to fix it. When there's fire coming out of it, maybe give me a call. And then we can talk about it because I want
when
you
you
got to
spend
learn.
15, 20 minutes Googling, trying different things, yes, then
But
it
you
goes
need to
back
break
our
it
earlier.
bad. You know,
Yes.
I mean, when you break it bad, because part of that breaking part is the
learning.
fixing.
Yeah.
If you're not breaking anything, you're not working.
Right,
I tell that to
yeah.
people all the time. Like, someone's like,
Right.
oh, no, I screwed something up. That's good. That means you were actually doing something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, you were
If
trying.
you've never broken anything, it's because
and you
got
got to fix it too. And so go back to your mentor with good questions. Save your ammunition and go back to curmudgeon Ray with a good question. Because Ray isn't going to answer every question you've got. If you keep going back there, eventually he's going to go to hell and close the door and say, leave me alone. So you got to save your ammunition and make it count when you go in there and say, okay, I'm going to really take a real question. Try to challenge yourself to that.
But don't be afraid to go back, because I think when you're learning, you may not know how to ask a question or interpret your results. And I was never afraid to go to my mentors and people I worked with to be like, yeah, that's not working. I tried a couple of things. And they're like, you just don't get, give me some other things. All right, well, go think about this and this. And I go back, and I just keep going back and forth. And I was persistent. I'm like, no, I want to learn. I'm willing to put the work in.
Well,
I think that's what you have to show.
No one's going to expect you to ask some elaborate, intuitive, deep question the first time you ask a question, but over time they will. I mean, that's the progress. It's like if you come in the first time and go, well, what the hell's Linux? I'll tell you. I'm like, Linux is cool. You should download it and try it.
Yes.
But then they'll go, okay, what do we do then? So now come back in a little while later and go, okay, I downloaded Linux. I'm trying to compile a kernel, and I don't know what in the hell happened, and like nothing.
Valid
works.
question because we've all been there.
Absolutely.
Totally
okay, well,
valid
that's a
You
question.
haven't
question.
spent a weekend trying to get
Yeah.
Gentoo up and running.
Yeah.
You haven't lived.
Step 1, why the hell did you download Gentoo for the first one?
Get out of my office.
Step 2,
Don't ever say that word
See
again.
step 1.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think you
Step
have
2,
to.
why are you trying to compile a kernel? What's the motivation here? There's got to be an easier way. Go
Right.
Google that.
I also find that the best students are ones that when you describe a problem to them, because they may ask you, you just may say, like, I'm working on this, and I'll be like, I'm really stuck on, like, X, Y, and Z, right? And they'll ask me a couple of questions, and I'm like, well, go work on that. And, like, in tandem, they'll go look into my problem. They'll come back and be like, hey, Paul, like, I looked at that thing because it was really bothering me. Like, I think maybe we should try this.
So you nailed it. The best students are the ones you learn from.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ones that are so engaged with what you're working on
Yeah.
that they're also looking into
Yeah.
the
And they
global.
push you a little bit more, too.
Yeah,
It's like,
they're
you know
kinda
what? I'm not sure. Let's go figure that out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the greatest moment of all is when students come in and they ask you a question. You go, I have no
I don't know.
idea.
Let's go figure it out. Yeah.
Then
sure.
let's
to
here's-
the Google.
To the
Yeah, I mean,
to the Google bots. Those are the best students, though.
yeah, they are. I mean,
And
I
very
love
selfishly, it's one of the reasons why I like coaching juniors too. Like I learned so much,
Yeah.
So much.
so much. So, yeah,
I
and it's
agree.
hard to keep up with technology, and they are
And I-
so much more
yes.
equipped. And
I was
because, like,
telling-
when I was that age, so yeah, like. I spent all of my time pouring it all into that. And now I don't get to do that for a variety of reasons, right? Like, even just as a job function, I have a lot of high-level strategic things that don't allow me to just be purely tactical, right? And so I can sponge a lot of that
Oh my
information
God.
off because
So-
they're just
Funny
young
story.
souls that I can.
I was showing Tyler,
Yeah.
who used to work with it in Guardians, right?
Yep.
He stopped by, and I was showing him PyCharm and all the cool things that it does. And after I finished showing him all the features, I'm like, by the way, I learned about this software from our intern software developer who's 15.
Right.
That's right.
So Jack came to me and he was, I was talking about how, like, I'm like, look, dude, I'm a curmudgeon. I like VI. I like to code in VI. I've tried Atom. I've tried VS Code.
Emacs. I mean,
Don't
really?
even speak the
What?
word.
Get out,
Gabe.
get out.
You're out now. Right? But I'm like, I'm old school. And he said to me, Paul, try PyCharm. He said the development IDE that most Java developers use come from the same company. They make PyCharm. And I tried it, and now I've been telling the world about how much I love this. And it came from exactly what we're
That's
talking
it.
about. Students that are out there just researching things
Yeah.
because they're curious and are bringing that knowledge back to you because we get curmudgeon. I'm like, maybe I'm not curious about what IDE I'm using because, like, I've used IDEs in the past, and to be honest with you, the curmudgeon in me is like, they all suck and they all just get in my way.
Right.
But now I'm kind of refreshed that, wow, this one actually helps me. Like, this one, whoever wrote it was obviously a developer.
Right.
And from a developer perspective, put together a great product.
I have a same story. My intern Faith would be putting documentation together for some of the projects we were working on. I'm like, oh, well, so we need to have this in a Word document. And she says, yeah, no, I don't do Word because
Word.
because fuck Microsoft. And
1990 called. Yeah.
like you should totally check out Markdown. I'm like, what the fuck's Markdown?
Yeah.
And now all my documentation is written in Markdown. Everything, including all of the labs for Sec 617, everything is in Markdown.
And that goes
like-
back and forth because Jack came to me with the same thing. He's like, we should use Trello. I'm like, dude, been there, done that, like it, but it's yet another tool. And I'm like, if you looked into what Git has for ticket tracking and project management, and we kind of went back and forth a little bit, and we came to the conclusion. I'm like, Jack, go create what you have in Trello. Just go try and create that in Git. If it sucks and it doesn't work, and it doesn't, I'm like, totally get that, and we'll use Trello. Like, I'm cool with that. And he used Git because I had played around with it. He was like, yeah, you were right. He's like, it's included in what we're already using to publish our code, and it integrates. He's like,
There it is.
It basically has everything that Trello has, and that's what we ended up with. So that
Gotta
it's such a
open-
positive interaction.
Got to open a ticket. Got to open a ticket, make a fix, push a fix, close the ticket at the same time.
Yeah,
Like,
but also you can
Why
create.
do I need Trello?
What I didn't realize, you can create projects in Git that have Kanban boards in them, and
okay.
you can customize them, and it's like this hidden. I don't know why they don't publicize it more. It's like this hidden functionality.
It is hidden. I didn't know
We're
that.
I
already
didn't know that either.
But I
right,
usually-
we're paying for this
yeah.
account. It's like in there, dude. I'm like, we can totally plan all of our projects
You need to show me that later because
Yes, it's actually
yeah.
very, very useful. Yes.
And what you're talking about here is just trying stuff, breaking stuff, learning new stuff, and then continue. It's the scientific method, and you're going out
And what's
you're
awesome is
searching.
having students is so beneficial to both people. I think is what we're
Yes.
coming
Yes.
full circle on this.
It should be symbiotic. If
Yes.
both people aren't getting something out of it, something might be broken in that mentorship process.
Yeah.
Something
And,
might be
and
wrong.
I learn stuff from students that isn't even necessarily technology related.
Having
like
people from
Old Town Road.
but having yes, that I learned from my kids.
I could have done without that one in particular, but yes.
Agreed. But that two-way street with students and constantly learning new things, but also having students from different backgrounds, having people that you work with from all different backgrounds and walks of life is so important because they may just bring that little piece of whatever information that you're like,
viewpoint.
oh, that's a different view. Like if we apply some of those different views to what we're doing, it makes it better. It's tough to articulate how powerful that is, I think.
Or they may get you to try Gentoo.
Or at the extreme end of the spectrum.
And then you try it and you go, what the fuck was I thinking? And you learn something that never
Well,
tried
I
Gentoo.
learned a lot, but I kind of sometimes wished I had.
Yeah,
Right.
sometimes
I learned
We got it to work, though, by God. It took a lot of pain and swearing and suffering and drinks and everything else. But we sat there in the floor, and we did get Gentoo installed.
what I learned
you
is
learned a lot.
when you do that and you get Gen 2 working, a couple of weeks down the road, you have to do it all again, and then it dies in a fire and nothing works, and then you switch distros.
I'm pretty convinced that Gen 2 is like the last piece of where Lord Voldemort hit his soul. Like it was, it's in Gen 2 somewhere.
I really thought I
I'm
remember
another
saying
tattoo now.
So,
God damn it! I have all the Horcruxes
There you
tattooed
go,
around
that's
my
right.
wrist. So
Well,
Gentoo
I
is the
remember
final
telling my
Let's get the
friend
Gentoo
Lou,
logo somewhere
we
on
were
here.
sitting in his living room working on Gentoo, trying to get it to work, and we got it to work. It involved we wrote some drivers. It was hell on earth.
You have to write a driver.
We had to write a driver to get it to work, but we got it to work. And it
kind of
started.
write your own drivers.
It's like,
And
no,
I
got
said,
this really
I
awesome
actually
car. I had to
think
build my own
maybe.
engine.
I was saying, I think maybe like a genie or something's going to appear. Just like you have succeeded, my son. Now you get 3 wishes.
Right. This was the final test.
Yeah, but
You have
But
passed.
along those lines, I think it's also important for students, especially in this field, to use Linux as their desktop.
Yeah.
I kind of feel pretty strongly about that you should
as their
have.
desktop. I think
You don't really learn it until it's your desktop.
I'm not sure why I'm saying this because I used it. There was a period of time in my life
Yeah.
where not only did I use it, I was that young kid that was like, oh, this is the year of the desktop. This is it. This is the year of the Linux desktop. It still isn't, by the way. Although
I'm not saying you have
some
to do
kid
that.
out there right now probably believes that. So I shouldn't disagree with you.
Not forever, Gabe. I'm not
Right,
saying forever,
right.
but you should have a period where
Yeah,
you use
yeah.
it as your desktop to learn.
Yeah.
And
If you go on into other things,
Look, I'll tell you, like my
that's
data
fine.
scientists, all of them, that's their primary work environment. Now, granted, that's not just because
Yeah,
they're data
or
scientists.
just set
That
up
is
a
preference
server.
because that's what
Set up
they-
a server
yeah.
that's running Linux that's doing something, and
or
you have
virtual
to support
machine
it.
or
Yeah.
Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, or any of
or-
those things, and
Right.
you'll spend a lot of time keeping that thing running. And
Right.
a desktop running Linux, maybe not.
Okay,
fair
well,
enough.
yeah.
You
all of
should
which I
have
do
one.
still have those things. Like
Yeah.
I've got.
I mean,
like
all
a-
my servers run Linux, so
Yeah.
all
servers,
my
I think, are different though. Like once you're forced to use it as your desktop
Daily,
and
right, I see
solve
what you're
those
saying.
problems,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying forever because it may not be the right operating system for you.
Right. Use the right tool for the right job.
Right, exactly.
right.
But I think it's a good learning experience to say, you know what, for the next 3 months, I'm going to use Linux as my primary desktop
Yeah.
to learn. Right.
Well,
I feel like I benefited from
Let's
being
drop a
forced
little
into
knowledge
that.
for those that don't know right now too. I mean, the subsystem is built into Windows 10 and above. Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
turn it on. You can turn it on. So
is,
go
yeah.
do that even.
Again, it's not the same though.
It's not, but
but it's something.
Yeah,
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I tell you what, I learned more about Unix when I got a job as a sysadmin doing Solaris, and they handed me a desktop, and it was a Solaris
Yeah.
box. That was my desktop. And let me tell you, I was forced to learn things
Agreed.
because that was my desktop. I think that's valuable experience
And-
for students.
And that
today.
said, I think there's also some value in that using the right tool for the right job. I
Yes.
got the same spot that I showed up at one of my new jobs in at the hospital, and they dropped a Spark 5 on my desk with
There
a
you
monitor
go.
and a Windows box. And the Windows box connected to the Novell network so I could do file sharing, Word, and email.
Yep.
But all of my work was
done.
on
Sure.
the Solaris
Right.
box. Like all of my work,
Right.
not just checking
Like
email. and-
HP OpenView was not on Windows back then.
That's what I was doing. HP OpenView
I know.
all day.
I know.
Yep.
Part of
Whatever,
it's still dead.
whatever happened to that?
It's the 10th and final Horcrux.
Shit.
Another tattoo.
I also think
I'll get the needles.
Right.
Okay.
But along those lines, sure we can virtualize so many things today. There's something to be said about the learning process and getting physical hardware running on an operating.
full
It doesn't have to be Linux.
Yeah.
Sure, build a Linux, build Windows, have a Mac. Use
Get a Hackintosh.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
just going through that
use it.
process,
Just
you will learn
alone.
so much.
Yes.
Alone, yep.
That's how you learn
Yeah.
is basically building things.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one of the difficult things about our field is we have to know how to build things, we have to know how to attack things and defend things.
Yeah.
But it starts with learning how to build things.
I'm gonna
right?
agree.
Go back to your days at 2600. I'm sure
It's
a lot of
all
your
building.
conversations were about
It was more
how do I
building
build
than
it?
breaking.
Right.
Right.
And,
Like,
and I think you talked that about you go and get a desktop for this or you go and get a laptop for that. Consider the Raspberry Pi as a platform.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
inexpensive. It's a
great
great student. It's a
platform.
great
Yeah.
student
Play
budget.
with it.
I use it as a Plex server. I've got like 4 of them running. All,
First thing you
Why
got to do
not?
is figure out how to get the image on an SD card,
Yes.
regardless of what platform you're starting from.
Right.
There is almost too many projects you can do with a Raspberry Pi,
that's
but
true, though.
Etcher
like
is the
pick
answer,
one.
by the way.
Like pick one. Like go buy one, they're really cheap, and just go. If that project doesn't work out, go to the next one. Just
Yep.
like keep iterating and learning. It's a great platform to do that.
Absolutely. And they're so cheap that if you have a project that works, that if there's another project, I can go get another one. And I
Yes.
can go get another one. And I can go get another one.
Just keep it a secret, because when people find out you did that cool thing, like, can you build me one? And I'm like,
Uh,
I got a
no.
day job,
Like,
so
yeah.
that's
well,
not a thing.
that you can. It's called DD.
Right. That's true, isn't it? Right.
Because see,
But here's the problem, though. Then you become their tech support,
Uh-huh.
and they call
Oh,
you
yeah,
up. Like,
that's
yeah,
shit. Yeah, that's a good
That,
point.
that was why I
Yeah.
quit building and selling.
There it is.
I quit building and selling PCs because of that, because we built them and sold them. I was like, this is a good way to make money. I
Right.
have a skill.
Yep.
I can build these, and that was back in the old computer shopper days.
That's right.
And I
Oh
could
God,
put,
you
Oh,
too?
wow.
yeah, I'd get the parts,
No
and
Tiger
we put them
Direct?
together.
D,
but
D-
somehow,
D1 Systems, man.
I know, but God, these people would call me 2 years later and go, "You sold me a PC." I'm like, "Yes." It don't work no more. Can you come fix it? And and I'm like, "Well, what happened to it?" And they're like, "Oh, well, my nephew tried to put a
Peanut
some
butter
kinda-
sandwich in the CD-ROM drive.
And it was just like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be tech
was
support
using
for
the
50
cup
people
holder
for the rest of my
when-
life. And then they would call you about all kinds of wacky stuff. They could go, "My VCR clock keeps flashing 12. Can you come to my house and fix that?"
No, it's right twice a day.
There's
Leave it alone.
so many people listening going like a VCR clock. What
Yeah,
the
they're like,
fuck-
these guys
what
are
is
old. Why do we
that?
even tune into this show?
Yeah.
dude, the sad part is, I'm cleaning out my mom's house now. She just recently passed
Just
away.
VCR, doesn't she?
No, I can find the remotes, but I can't find the damn VCR.
Mm.
But the fact that I can find the remotes,
It's weird.
there are 2 of them.
Turn them on and
what?
see if they start playing.
Right?
Yeah.
Screens rise out of tables.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
she still has
I-
the tubes.
I know. What do we do? How we do on time? So, what I want you need to build computers. I
Yeah.
think that's important to your learning process. One of my nephews was really, and I love this. That I actually love that Microsoft has not updated the Xbox and has forced hardcore gamers into the PC world, and now folks like my nephew are like, I want to build a PC. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is good experience for you. I brought him to the studio and we built a PC
That's awesome.
together. It's in
Yeah.
production. The guys use it like we built it all together. And I think that if you're going to be in this field in IT or security, having the experience of
You should understand
building
how things work, right?
There was I think a basketball player. He was watching his son, I believe, watch all these videos, other people playing video games on the video games.
Yeah.
And if someone's like, yeah, like build a computer, and this NBA player, I believe, went through the motions of building a computer, like knew nothing, and talked to all his followers on social media. It was like, I'm gonna build, like, what should I buy, and like built a computer with the help of the community. I think everyone in cybersecurity needs to go through that process. I think it's
It's
important.
not an awful idea. I mean,
Yeah.
Lord
And
knows I
it's
did
fun.
plenty
It's
of
fun
that. It is
too.
a
It's
lot
not
of
like
fun.
I'm telling you to.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
But and you're going to run into issues. But that's the nature of if you're going to work with computer technology, in whatever capacity, you're going to run into issues, and it teaches you how to identify them and troubleshoot.
So what you're saying is critical thinking
Yes.
Yes.
begins with those types of exercises.
Right.
Right.
But
No, I'm
the
with
end
you.
result, if you build your computer, you got a computer now.
And
That's
yeah.
cool.
And now
right?
you have more critical thinking to do.
Yes. No.
Well, and it's already out of date, so you need to upgrade
You
it.
need
so
to upgrade it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like, and now you need a better monitor too. So it just kind of an endless. It's the
It is
circle.
an
It's the
endless-
circle
fair-
of digital life.
To be fair,
That's right.
half the fun is researching and building it, though.
It
right?
is-
Like,
it
that
is
is
totally
that was
true.
totally half the fun. Like, oh my god, I want this part,
I mean,
that part.
If you went on like my Newegg account 10 years ago and looked at how many wish lists I had
Right.
put together of different builds that I would, if I had just had the money, because I think one of my records was like, I think it was like $7,000 or something. I was like, this would be a cool machine to build.
Doug, you built a lot of computers over
I
the
did,
years.
yeah, I
I
built
didn't
a
realize
lot
you
of
started
computers.
building even way back when, right?
The first one we ever modded, I modded a Tandy 1000
Oh, jeez.
in 1986 by actually desoldering and resoldering chips. This guy at a Radio Shack told me that you could solder these other chips on there and get more memory out of the thing, because I wanted to take it from a whopping 64K to 256K.
Who would
I
ever
was
need that
I was
much?
9 years old, Doug.
All right, I'm out.
Eh. This week of Geriatrics Weekly.
Let me tell you, back in the day. Yeah.
And I would have loved to have learned how to do that when I was 9.
Totally.
But we
totally,
built.
right?
I mean, and we were building stuff all the way through the entire evolution of PCs. I mean, we literally built 8088s, and I mean the really old nasty stuff where you had to. I mean, I've written drivers for video cards because I used to build them for people. Like I built them for gamers, and I built them for musicians. And people would come in and they would say, can you get this to do this? And we were trying to put, weird audio cards into PCs that, it wasn't just like a stock PC where somebody wanted to run Excel. It was like a PC where somebody wanted to do something weird. Like, can you take this analog mixing board and plug it into this PC?
Like
so
we
I
do
can,
today with our podcast
yeah, like stuff
setup.
that's very easy to do today. And we
I wouldn't say easy.
well,
but-
not easy, but I mean, it's.
We don't have to write our own drivers today.
But it was just stuff
the
that
most
was
part.
it was parts that were never meant to go together,
Yeah.
and so all the way through that evolution, and then I built some flight sims. I had this
wow.
guy who was a gamer who wanted flight sim machines, and this was really early.
3-panel script.
Well, he wanted. Well, the problem was he wanted all the. He had 7. He wanted 7 windows.
Oh wow.
And I was trying to figure out how to link them together, and I found out there was a tool that would let you run 7 different CPUs, and they all synced over a local network. So it was a crossover cable network. And then I was like, if we could afford a hub, things would improve vastly. And he was like, well, how much would that be? And it was like, it's a lot,
But
so.
valuable experience is things like that, because you may not, and I hear a lot of people say, well, I don't have any experience with that. But if you've done like stuff
do
that
it.
Doug is describing, you can go to some different technology and apply your experience and knowledge and go, well, I haven't done that, but
Can't
like
wait
I
for
did
the
this other
Minecraft
thing.
generation to grow up and see what the hell they do with life.
Right?
Like
Yeah.
that'll be interesting.
Put things together in different
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
So, we make the joke our oldest daughter played Minecraft forever. In fact, I stole her Minecraft backpack to go to con with because it's kind of geeky, and she doesn't use it anymore. But like she wasn't really into Legos, but she's into Minecraft.
Who hurt her?
No, but I see Minecraft as Legos on the computer.
It's true.
It's true.
So, yeah, I think I must have left some on the floor and she stepped on
There
them or
you go,
something.
that's
so
it,
that
right?
that
Oh,
yeah.
it was
Put
like
you right off
pain.
that.
Doesn't
Yeah.
like Legos.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
I
like
gotcha.
childbirth, and then there's like stepping on a Lego, right?
Yeah, it's right up there.
It's right. All right. With that, we're going to take a short break, come back, talk about software security. Stay tuned.